Hello again, my friends. It is Malik Windu, and I have just finished watching episode 2 of The Skeleton Crew on Disney+. And wow, what an amazing episode and a great way to end it. I have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. The episode name is called Way Out Past the Barrier. And so my first question that came to mind as I was watching the show is I'm trying to figure out the world building here and what we're supposed to expect here from these characters and the space that they're in. Because this is all kind of new territory. I don't think this has been explored in any of the books or any of the movies, so this is all new to me. But what is this barrier, right? So Wim's father talked about the barrier at Aten, and then Neil brought up the fact that they're past the barrier. Kind of confused, but also intrigued. I think the barrier keeps them safe from pirates and smugglers, but it almost feels like they're being separated from the rest of the galaxy, which is also kind of weird. Does the New Republic even know that they exist? And then my next question was, is Aten the real name of the planet where the kids are from? It almost seems like they're living in a different universe or different time zone, a different galaxy, but people have heard of it, but it was a myth according to the pirates at the spaceport that they stopped them by, but we'll get there later. There obviously is like a system of society where people have careers and they do stuff, but it also seems now like no one has actually left the planet in a very long time. It also seems like there hasn't been visitors to the planet in a very long time. So also that seems kind of weird. Again, it would all be cleared up if some New Republic ships showed up at some point. We'll see what happens. It almost feels like mystery box that's being slowly opened, like what's going to happen next. Because there's the adventure that the kids are on, but there's also this bigger mystery surrounding the whole whereabouts of where they come from and the planet and everything else. So the whole point of this episode, or where they start in this episode, the children are aboard the recently uncovered starship Onyx Cinder. It's a cool looking ship. I actually really like it, and I don't know if it's gonna be a new Star Wars favorite of mine, but I do like the ship. And then they finally learn about this droid SM-33. The droid is a loyal droid in search of their crew, but swears allegiance to the new captain, Fern. So it was kind of like a cute little thing. Fern kind of hacks the droid in a way, just lies to the droid and says, hey, SM-33, I killed your captain, so that makes you the captain now.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Fern takes the reins and decides that she'll be captain. Kind of would have liked if Wim had been captain, but Wim just at this point seems just like a nuisance and a whole hot mess and gets them further and further into troubles. You know, Fern makes sense. She has like a cool head on her shoulders. She actually tries to like keep everybody together and doesn't try to panic as much and protect everybody. And she had an actual plan as far as telling the droid that she's a captain, and at least the droid didn't throw them away, you know, as stowaways, and tries to get them back to Aten. So it makes sense. And then later on, so they try to like say, take us back to Aten, and droid SM-33 has no recollection of what that planet is. So it's kind of like your first clue is like their planet is unknown to even a droid that landed on that planet. So maybe his circuitry is fried a little bit. So SM-33 takes them to Starport Borgo, a seedy pirate port, and sends the 4 kids out in search of directions. And so you think, okay, they'll find a kind soul. And it almost felt like they did when they were talking to that, I want to say, not a Twi'lek, one alien woman that tries to help them out. But at the same time, I was thinking these kids could be kidnapped and put into like a trafficking ring of some kind. That was also crossing my mind, but this is Disney Plus, so I don't think they go that deep. But it looked like she was trying to help them, but they were scared of her because obviously SM-33 said don't trust anybody. They don't know her. And she was kind of like being very aggressive of trying to get them out of there. But I just assumed that this lady was like, look, if you kids find the wrong people or get thrown into the brig like they eventually do, you'll never leave and you'll end up living a life that you will regret. So I think this lady had good intentions, and I hope she comes back because she seemed like she could be like an actual interesting character. So the other thing that was interesting is when the kids got into the starport, they boarded a ferry. I thought that was really cool. Like a little mini alien came up and boarded the ship and just said, hey, I'll give you ferry passage to the starport. That was really cool. Like everything had like a purpose and a usefulness to it. Then when he gets his money, he kind of like, and he runs away like all gleefully. It's interesting too because like Wim's lunch money shines. It looks like gold and everyone reacts to it kind of crazily. We'll get to that next. But a couple of things popped into my mind how like scary Star Wars is as a universe. universe, and the fact that these 4 kids, they're school kids. They've never had a hard life for the most part. They have parents who love them as far as we know. They come from good families and they've never known hardship, and they're being flung out into the rest of the galaxy. Almost feels like if one of us, like when we were kids, have been thrown into the galaxy far, far away, unbeknownst to all of us, and then we had to discover like the galaxy, the universe is a very, very rough and scary place. This is very scary. I'm very worried for these kids, and it does seem that this show and the production and the producers are actually trying to make it seem very dangerous and not a safe place for them that they can actually be hurt and killed in. And I really appreciate that. Definitely one thing that comes to mind is, why was this place, Starport Borgo, seedier than anything in the Book of Boba Fett? Not to criticize too much, but the Book of Boba Fett felt like almost a clean version of Tatooine. There's a couple of instances where it could have been shady, but nothing as shady or seedy as the pirate dock of Starport Borgo. That was scary. I was legitimately scared for those kids. They got into trouble almost instantly, and those pirates there didn't care. Like, if they were children, they were just gonna throw them in jail, rob from them, maybe even kill them. It was actually a terrifying, dangerous place. So I do hope that moving forward, if we're going to talk about seedy places, we're going to have bounty hunters, smugglers involved, let's show the actual danger that is there. Let's not hide it or try to make it seem cleaner than it actually is. Because Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, could have been a great opportunity to show really the underbelly of Star Wars. Missed opportunity there, but not missed opportunity in Skeleton Crew. And I really just appreciate that the show is showing parts of Star Wars that I've never seen before. The second thing, as the children got off the ferry and started walking around, is I got this feeling that I was discovering Star Wars for the very first time. It was actually like mesmerizing. I have never felt that in a very long time. Not since I first watched like Star Wars: A New Hope. As a kid on Saturday night on local television, that's when I first discovered Star Wars or really got to watch it. That's kind of what I felt watching that episode. I was discovering it through the lens of the children, because again, it seems like they've been in such a bubble on their planet that they don't know anything about their galaxy, except for Wim's, stories about the Jedi. Besides that, they don't know anything. And for us, it's like we're rediscovering it as well. So I really like that aspect of the show. My last 2 points here are just about the last conflict. Wim sits down to eat some food. Obviously, the children, they need to eat, but Wim just gets them in trouble all the time. And I feel bad for Neil because he's just kind of like there for the ride. But then he's like, Wim, do something. And then Wim does do something, gets them a little bit out of trouble. SM-33 tries to defend them. That was a really good fight. Like, it was great to see actual fighting, hand-to-hand combat in Star Wars once again. We got some of that in Andor, but with SM-33, that droid does not pull any punches at all and was tossing those pirates all around the place. That was just beautiful. I really love seeing that. I want more of that kind of action in Star Wars. Fern had a really cool moment where she actually had a blaster on her. I didn't know that she had one on her. I don't know if she grabbed it on the ship or not, but she actually used it really well by shooting in the sky. Major props to Fern. I think she's really coming into her own as a character in this episode. And again, SM-33 tries to defend them. They try to get away, and then they get thrown into the brig by what Captain Brutus, the Wolfman. I don't know what species this is, or the alien race, but pretty cool. Captain Brutus, it's pretty awesome. And then they're in prison. They're trying to find a way to get out. They use a little like mouse rat friend that's in the eye of SM-33, which I thought was super cute. The cutest little rat I've ever seen in my life. And the rat almost gets them the keys, obviously an ode to Pirates of the Caribbean, when pirates are trying to ask the dog to get them the keys to them. That was really cool. Then they find out that they're not alone in the cell and there's someone else in there. According to StarWars.com, this character is named Jod. Jod turns out to be a Force user. Now, Wim calls him a Jedi, but we all know better than that. Just because someone uses the Force or has a lightsaber does not mean they're actually a Jedi. Doesn't mean that they're on the light side of the Force. There's a reason why he's in a cell. For me, as for now, I do not trust Jod. Just because of the trailers and all the other, media marketing footage, we know that they do get out of the cell and that Jod helps them get out there. But his true intentions for them and for their ship, I don't know. So I hope the children are safe. I'm still very, very worried about having children in the Star Wars universe. Again, it's very interesting because there's that animated show on Disney Plus the Star Wars Jedi Adventures. Now, they're actually Jedi in training with Force powers, so I can see why they go out into space and have their adventures. These kids have nothing, like literally nothing. No training for combat at all, no Force abilities, nothing except for a spirit of courage. And I'm just super worried that one of these kids is gonna get taken out. I don't think it's actually gonna happen. The whole marketing is that this is like the Goonies, but in Star Wars, which it does feel like that. The Goonies had some pretty terrifying moments, so I don't think we're done with the scary moments for the children. Episode 1, I really liked. Episode 2, I also really like. I would give props to Lucasfilm. Hope the show continues to be amazing the rest of the season. That's all my thoughts. Take care. Peace.